Howdy, you Raymond?
Yes, sir.
Kenny, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir. Come on back.
Certainly. Howdy.
Hey, how's it going? I don't think you could have a gun.
I checked the sign. There's no prohibition on it, and remember,
Okay, I'm gonna call the police.
that's your prerogative. I checked the signs, and remember, 30 pistol permits are generally inclusive. Okay, that's your prerogative. Just please do not use the emergency number.
Hey, call the police.
Use the non-emergency number, sir. You don't want them running code and running somebody over. Again, don't use the emergency number. Use the non-emergency number. Oh. Nope. You did call the non-emergency number, right? I hate for you them to run code and cause an issue.
Okay, so anyway, that's what it is. And you know what? You know, this is a peaceful event.
I'm here to help keep the peace, sir.
Oh, this is what it is. You're saying that you're here to keep the peace. You're saying you're here to keep the peace.
Not in a law enforcement capacity. Just a concerned citizen.
Oh, he says this. You're law enforcement?
No, I am not law enforcement.
You're not, right?
I am just here as a concerned citizen because we had some reports that some of the cameramen might not be well received at this event.
A what?
We had some reports some of the cameramen at this event might not be well received.
A cameraman at this event will not be well received. This is what he's telling us.
So we're just here to record and make sure everything goes peacefully.
What's your name, by the way?
You can call me Kenny.
What's your last name?
Here, let me give you one of my cards.
Hey, there you go. This guy is Kenny.
Here you are.
Wolf. Anyway, hey, John Coparubi,
Not a policeman's work, just here as an armed citizen.
and calling himself an armed citizen during an event that we're having, and with children around. If that's legal, that's fine. I just don't think it is. And you know, he's just for him being here, he's harassing us.
That's not the way the penal code works, sir.
He's some kind of militia group too. Are you with the militia group?
No, sir.
Hey, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
You are hilarious, sir. Great comedy routine. Okay.
They still don't like it though because you're capturing the essence of it.
Exactly.
Like half of them are empty chairs.
Other presidents who didn't get over the hump but who were incredibly qualified, and you see that this nominee just doesn't have that.
Yeah, make sure and post a lot of photos of those empty chairs.
Oh, I got it. I even got it when the idiot guy was like, "Bah, bah, 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 bah." I mean, you got it too. The GoPro.
Yeah, I've been recording the whole time.
Who look like Shuri, who look like Tanisha.
Yeah, reason I have the GoPro
I
tonight.
got his name too when they announced him.
Okay. Yeah, reason I have the GoPro is
just in case
people
we're
accuse me of all sorts of illegal shit. Just make sure I'm innocent.
We give us opportunities to vote by mail. And when the Republicans understood that the voters were going to be folks like us, what they do? They filed lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. So vote them out because they're trying to suppress our vote.
You might need to be recording again.
My third reason to vote them out is Sheriff Gonzalez walks in. Vote them out because they're not serious.
Kyle, right?
Kenny.
So we do have an ordinance for open carrying.
Okay, I did not see it posted on the sign.
Posted, it's on the website. Okay, I'm gonna read it to you. Okay.
It's just a continuation of things that African Americans have seen.
City of Park rules: it shall be unlawful for any persons to commit any of the following prohibited acts within the city limits in Webster, in accordance with the City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 62, Parks and Recreation, Article 1, and General 62, Unlawful Acts. Right? Unlawful acts. Number 8, use, allowed to be used or have in possession a weapon capable of causing death or serious bodily injury, including but not limited to firearms, CO2 pellet guns, BB guns, slingshot, bows and arrows, or crossbows. You need to leave the park.
Okay, yes sir. I was not aware of that. It was not posted, so
Thank you, sir.
I will. So how y'all doing today?
Good. How are you? I had the distinct pleasure of talking to Richard Briscoe yesterday.
Oh yes.
He is a pretty amazing man. I mean, he is definitely one of the smartest people. We talked for about 45 minutes yesterday, and we really enjoyed him. In fact, I tried to get him to come down here and teach a class on this, but he says his schedule is too full.
Okay.
But he was a very nice man, very knowledgeable.
We might be able to get one of our other OTC guys to teach a course. Don't know if you've ever heard of David Ahmad, but he's usually in this area.
David Ahmad?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Is he affiliated with the
Yeah, he's
Open
the
Carry
VP
Texas?
of Open Carry Texas.
I mean, that was a good website. I went to the frequently asked questions part of that yesterday, and it was very informative.
Okay, and of which I assume there's no question about what's on the statutes for open carry with a permit at a park and whatnot. How familiar are you with the other regulations on weapons allowed by state law at parks?
The state law in park, well, out of about the last 24 hours, I've gotten really, really familiar. I mean, in 2016, I think we were all pretty familiar when everything went into effect. Mm-hmm. And then, like anything, it kind of lapsed, and I know what the mistake was the other night. I've sat there and watched the body cam from the night in the park, and I know what happened. The officer was correct initially when he was speaking with those people, and even our dispatcher was correct, because when they called it in, I guess you saw the gentleman, because I could hear you in the background when he called the police. Mm-hmm. And our dispatcher was telling him, well, sir, there's no law against that. Is he doing anything? Well, yeah, he's threatening me. Okay, sir. Well, how is he threatening you? What is he doing right now? Well, he's sitting down. And our dispatcher went on to say, well, sir, that's sitting there isn't threatening. And then I could hear he started an exchange with you, is what he did. And then he's saying, see what he's doing? And so at that point, obviously the dispatcher sent units out there. And when the units first got there, I guess he talked to somebody in the crowd in the gathering that was going on in the pavilion part. And he told them, there's no law against this. There's no law against this. And I think one of the members kept saying, yes, he can't do it. There's children here. And children have nothing to do with any of this.
Right, there's children everywhere in Texas.
Yes, exactly. And so I think he second guessed himself, and he went where you probably saw on our parks website, and he saw that and he was like, oh, okay, well, no, you can't have weapons in the park. Well, the problem is that, as you pointed out in your email, that was wrong. Now, I don't know if you checked it today. It has since been corrected.
Okay, I have not, but I'm glad to know that.
It has since been corrected, and we've taken all the necessary steps there. And I mean, to be perfectly transparent, he was wrong. He made the wrong call. He did the wrong thing. He knows now, and everybody in this PD knows now that was the wrong call, and we're going to move forward. But I guess this open carry law around here, it's not a huge issue. We have had people in the past. There was one guy that he would walk up and down Bay Area Boulevard with a rifle, and nobody was paying attention. So he called the police on himself. And we would go out there. In fact, one officer went out there and they said, hey man, what's going on? You okay? And he goes, yeah, I'm okay. And then they just drove off. Well, he called the police on himself a second time. And so we had to go out there and say, hey, you're not doing anything wrong. I mean, we're not going to do anything here. And then we left. And so I guess he ended up leaving after that. But, other than that incident, we haven't had a whole lot of groups. We did have a gentleman here about a year ago, and he didn't have an open carry. He was just filming, walking around the parking lot filming, and went out there and talked to him, and I gave him the tour of the facility. I mean, we really don't have anything to hide, and we like I said in the email, we try to pride ourselves on doing the right thing, and we'll be transparent, and if we screw something up, we're going to admit to it, and we're going to move on.
Well, that is actually very much appreciated, because that's bottom line at the end of the day, what we want is just to make sure that y'all know so everybody knows.
Yes, sir. But yeah, as far as open carry, the one you got time to answer a couple questions?
Absolutely.
So I contacted the DA's office and I couldn't get a straight answer. So one thing that befuddled me on open carry text is the frequently asked questions. It talks about the license holder, all right, and the officer's authority to request the CHL or the license to carry, and when they have to show it to you and when they don't. And even on the open carry Texas thing, it says it's really kind of a gray area, And so I'm wondering, 'cause it also says in another website, when you get your license to carry, the one thing they tell you is if you're ever approached by the police and ask for it, give it to them, show it to them. But I get it. I mean, if somebody's just sitting there, let's just say you were at the park sitting there with your rig. You're not doing anything, but somebody calls and says, hey, this gentleman's here and I feel threatened. Because basically that's what happened to you on Friday.
Correct.
Okay, and so the police officer approaches you and says, hey, sir, I'm Corporal Sprinkle of the Webster Police Department, and I'm here because so-and-so called and they felt threatened. Obviously, you're not doing anything. Do you have a license to carry? And, granted, you would probably say yes. Yes or no. You would say, yes, I have one, but then at that point in time, what do y'all train your people to do if the officer asks for it?
The same thing as with driver's licenses, actually, because in a fitting twist, your LTC card actually has your driver's license on it. So if you're in a situation where it'd be reasonable for an officer to ask for your driver's license, that's when you would show them your LTC. And we tell officers the same thing. You can't just randomly approach a car going down the street because you don't like the color of their tint and ask them to see their driver's license.
Right, exactly. How about if they ask you, how about if in that same exact scenario we just gave, if an officer just walked up and said, hey, do you have an LTC?
Personally, I'm willing to say yes, I do, because Open Carry Texas, we are first and foremost for following the law, and it is the law that you have an LTC to carry a handgun.
Right.
Some of the auditors out there are a bit more extreme in trying to stick fully with the established driver's license precedent of not even having to answer that. But typically at Open Carry Texas, we're okay with saying we have LTCs because that is the law.
Okay.
They were not going to pull it out and prove it unless you have reasonable, articulable suspicion that we're not a valid LTC holder.
One of the things Mr. Briscoe said, and I think it holds true not just in this scenario, but in general, in contacts with law enforcement, is over 50% of it has to do with the demeanor of the officer and how he approaches the LTC or the open carry holder. Would you agree with that?
I would say that's definitely a large part of it, of which I can at least appreciate Corporal Sprinkles, even though he might have disagreed with me at some point, was doing his utmost to uphold the law as best he knew it. He just didn't know the law in its full context.
Yes, sir. And I guess you know the background on that, why it was so, I mean, and I'm just, this is an assumption on my part, but I'm guessing it was all heightened because the DA was out there.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and again, I apologize for, and Officer Sprinkle's been counseled with, and he definitely recognizes the error of his ways on that, and he is fully versed on open carry, probably more than he ever was even in 2016.
Well, that's good to know. That again, that's ultimately all we're after at the end of the day, is just to make sure everybody's on the same page and everybody knows what should be expected.
With regards to that other gentleman you mentioned that does training, do you happen to know how long that block is?
No, I do not, but I'll try and find out and let you know.
I will give you a business card with my information on it if you could pass it on to him, or if you could reach out to him and contact me. Definitely something we're interested in, because I think as we get closer to November and even, even thereafter.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you are going to be seeing a lot more of this, of which something I did bring along you might find helpful is the statutes concerning location-restricted knives, aka Bowie knives and trench knives. Because from what I understand, with the recent changes in laws, those are allowed at city parks as well, though not necessarily amusement parks, schools, and places like that. And of course, it's only location restricted if it's more than 5.5 inches.
But 30-6, 30-7 wouldn't apply to knives.
Correct.
Okay.
But but some officers have thought they apply to parks because they apply to amusement parks.
Right. And amusement parks, though, that only applies to amusement parks if they've got 30-6, 30-7, right? Or is that all amusement parks? Like, let's say Disney.
Yeah, 30-7, 30-6 only concern firearms.
Right, but I'm talking about firearms in amusement parks. Let's say Six Flags Over Texas. I haven't ever.
Well, Six Flags Over Texas has a no knife whatsoever policy, and they have the security to enforce that, which is fair.
But how about handgun? Do they have 30-6, 30-7?
Correct.
But if they didn't have those signs, legally, you could carry in an amusement park. The only thing it's, I guess where I'm going with this is amusement parks in general aren't off the table, but they have to post that if they
Correct. They have to post 3.7, 3.6. You can't bring a location-restricted knife there automatically. And if they have a policy against even regular knives, you can't bring them.
Okay. All right. Interesting to know. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and truth be known, everybody carries a knife. I mean, everybody carries a knife. We've got some people that work here that carry 6 or 7 on them at any given time. So I don't think, I mean, granted, somebody that knows how to use a knife, especially what's the 21-foot rule, which I think they've actually pushed back even further now. But I don't think officers are as alarmed by knives any longer just because they're so commonplace. Open carry, again, we don't see a whole lot of it. So a lot of times, you know, we take notice of it, but I know the citizenry, because it isn't super prominent out here. Now, I'm sure concealed. I'm sure you'd really be surprised if you knew how many people are actually carrying concealed
Well,
firearms.
my personal philosophy is the statute says knives, plural. That means you have to be carrying at least 2 of them.
There you go. 1 is none, 2
Right.
is 1.
Of course, not back here because this is your security zone, your security policies, which is more than fair.
Right. Well, and we've always had that, you know, you can bring a gun or whatever you like into the
Well, that's the
lobby,
difference between the public part of the building and the private part of the building.
The public doesn't have
which
access.
is completely fair in my opinion.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. I guess, are we good? And if not, what do we need to?
No, we're good. My only concern was just making sure that we don't have this issue going forward. And y'all have been great about correcting that and giving me reassurance that won't be the case.
It will not be the case again. We've got everything squared away. Like I said, it's squared away on the websites. Everybody is very well versed in this at this point, and they're going to be getting an additional lesson and some police one training on it too, assigned to just everybody. And I think it's only a 15 or 20-minute block, but I think it highlights everything. So if nothing else, it'll be a good refresher for everybody.
Right. The only thing I can think of is, generally speaking, the city of Webster does have the right to say you can't carry a rifle in the park if you have no LTC permit. However, if you have an LTC permit, it doesn't matter if you're carrying a AR-15 pistol or an actual AR-15.
Say that again.
Okay, so the city of Webster does have the right, if somebody's not a permit holder, to say you can't carry a rifle or other long gun in the park.
Why? I thought you could always carry. I didn't think you needed a license to. Is it the park that restricts it?
Yes, it's the park that restricts it.
Okay.
So the city does have that authority to actually enforce that against non-permitted folks who are carrying a long gun.
Okay.
Even though you don't necessarily, since you don't need a permit to carry a long gun. However, if somebody does have an LTC permit, they can carry a long gun into the park.
All right. But and here again, if they're not doing anything threatening or no reason.
Correct, and ultimately that should be y'all's bottom line: is don't worry so much about the permit, worry about the person and what they're doing.
Right, and just so would you recommend just keeping eyes on them and watching from afar for a little bit and just making sure that everything seems.
That's a fair response. I mean, it's a public park for y'all too, and if you have a concerned taxpayer that thinks the situation needs to be looked into, and don't have anything else going on, that's probably a fair response.
Okay.
But again, if you show up, you don't see any threatening behavior, and it's the other side that's flipping out, then probably no reason to stick around.
Well, let me ask you this, and this is your opinion question. I mean, most of the time, if you've got somebody that's carrying a long gun or something like that, or even an open carry handgun, most of the time, well, I can't say most of the time, in your experience, would you say most of those people are within the boundaries of the law and they know it? Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be doing that?
Correct. They would not be so openly advertising unless they had good reason to think they were well within the rule of law.
Okay. All right.
That has been my general experience.
All right. Well, very good. Very good. That's all we've got. Like I said, we spoke a lot with Mr. Briscoe yesterday, and he really, it was a good conversation. In fact, we called him twice yesterday to ask him follow-up questions.
Okay, and I gotta say, thanks to y'all, you've been the most accommodating police department we've come across that we've had an issue with, and just immediately corrected it, full stop.
We don't have anything to hide, man. We realize we're human, and there's been one perfect person that's walked this earth, and it wasn't anybody in this room.
Amen to that.
And we're all going to make mistakes, and we grow from those mistakes, and we move forward.
All right, well, thank you a lot for your time. And
Let me get you my business card.
Oh, yeah, that'd be
You
great.
can pass it on. I'll be right back.
Y'all folks have any questions I can answer while I'm here?
I do not. How about you?
No, I don't think I do. I mean, I started in Friendswood, so I saw this on there too.
Okay.
That was before license to carry though. That was just with concealed. It was usually just rifles, the open carry of the rifles, that type. But yeah.
Here you go, young man.
Much appreciated.
All right. Well, guys, I do appreciate your time. And like I said, you know how to reach me. If you have any more questions or problems or concerns, call me, and we'll see what we can do about them.
Sounds great.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, sir.